Hey there, Film Buds. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. I'm your host, Paul.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are joined by friend of the show. We haven't had one in a minute.
I know.
Madelaine.
Woo!
Yeah. Yay.
Actually, we haven't... Go ahead.
It takes everything within me. Anytime I see you wind up to start launching into that intro to not just interject something randomly and fuck it up.
It's like the lead up to the swing in golf, you know?
Yeah.
Like right as they start to go, you just want to say something.
Yeah. No, it's like the self-control I had to do. Very intense.
Well, I'm glad that you restrained yourself.
Yeah. You're welcome.
You know, a mulligan could have set us back minutes.
So true.
Precious time. So, no, yeah, we haven't had a friend on the show since I came up with the questionnaire.
Yes.
Which is why I ran it, past you when I first came up with it.
Yes.
But no, so it's good to have you back on. Since what have you been doing since the last time that you were on the show? I'm trying to think, what was the last episode that you were on?
The Fern Gully one, which
Yeah.
April?
Yeah, April.
Yeah. So April was the last time I was on. We talked about, I know it's been a hot minute, Fern Gully. Since then, I've been doing a little writing here and there for Screen Rants, some general kind of freelance writing, stuff like that. Basically getting cooked to death because I live in Texas and it's hot as hell. And that's about it.
Good.
So what have you been writing? Why don't you tell the listeners what you've been writing over at Screen Rant? What have you been focusing on?
Random shit, but all kinds of different stuff. I try mostly to focus when I am able to like kind of do fun sort of like horror themed lists of things. Actually, I did a list that was children's books, like horror-themed children's books that have been adapted into like horror movies. And while technically Freaky Friday is not a horror book for children, it is a book for children that has been adapted a multitude of times, including, obviously, this episode's film. So things like that. I did one. I think so far my favorite though has been like just kind of like 10 obscure horror monsters that more people should know about, and it was like a list that included like a murderous tire, a killer dress, a bed, the bed that kills, some
sleep tight.
Yeah.
Well, the best cinematic bed death that I always think of is Freddy versus Jason.
Oh yeah. Where
he folds him in. Yeah.
That's fair.
Taco bed death.
Yeah. Taco bed death. There's a couple good ones. And then what is it? Is it Nightmare on Elm Street? Is it the first one or the second one where like Johnny Depp? Is it
the first one?
Yeah, it's the first one where Johnny gets sucked into the bed.
Yeah, they filmed that. They shot the whole thing. Here's a fun fact about that: they shot the entire room upside down and just sprayed blood through essentially the roof.
Yeah.
But the problem was no one damned any of the set, and so all of that fake blood came rushing off, and it came out in such a surge that it caused a whole bunch of like unsandbagged lights because they were on a set.
Yeah, there was like
to just go slip sliding over and just start to explode, and it was an entire disaster. They only did it one time, and that's the one that's in the movie.
Yeah.
Because it was the most expensive shot of the entire movie, just because of the equipment destroyed.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Well,
gosh.
Deathbed, the death. It's called Deathbed, the bed that eats, and highly recommend it. As the name suggests, it's like a demonic bed, and it like sucks like the skin and flesh off of this guy's like hand, and he's got like a little bone hand. It's great.
This sounds like a Stephen King cocaine dream.
Probably. I mean, it should be. It should be.
Right next to the killer cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's right up there with Maximum Overdrive, really.
Yes. Yeah. No, so some great been writing some real high quality content.
Yeah. Well, you're joining us, of course, on our final episode of Pride Month. July, is that the first Friday of next month. So this is our final Pride Month episode, just because of a weird calendar.
Sometimes calendars are weird.
But we're very glad to have you on, and I wanted to have you on because, one, I wanted to do a horror episode because horror is such a inclusive genre. It's such a subversive field. So many people have been able to go and do such interesting stuff with the genre really since it began. And sort of coding horror for all sorts of different subversive topics. And also, I knew that you had seen this movie and that you were a fan of it.
Yeah.
And of course, you also have a WGS degree. That's
Thank
a Women
you.
and Gender Studies degree, for those of you that don't know.
We've got a professional here.
Yeah, we do. Madelaine, hush. We've got a professional here.
That's right.
That's right.
And no, and you're always so insightful, and you're always such a blast to talk about with horror. You've been on like so many of our horror specific episodes, honestly. And so it just seemed like such a natural fit. But it is Pride Month. It's our final Pride episode. And again, LGBTQ themes and horror go hand in glove, really. And so I guess before we get too deep into the discussion on our main movie, which is Freaky, do y'all have any kind of, when you think of horror and you think of particularly queer horror, what are some movies that come to mind? Do you have any favorites? We'll start with Madelaine.
I was gonna say Jennifer's Body. I think, which everyone totally, I feel like, hated.
They shit on that movie so hard when it came out, but it was great.
I loved it. And I think obviously, like, it's very queer.
I think that's one of the first horror movies that you and I saw in theaters, because I was kind of a late horror bloomer.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of the first ones that you and I saw specifically together.
Yeah, and I loved it. And I think it's like I think Jennifer's Body is some great queer horror. Personal opinion. I think if you want to talk to a little bit, like, Rocky Horror is some great queer horror in there as well.
Because it's a horror comedy musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best of all worlds.
And it's very,
it really is.
very queer. All over the place.
So I think, let's see, that one's one I obviously really, really loved. I'm trying to think if there's like another one in particular where I was like, oh, The Perfectionist I enjoyed. I don't know if you saw, I know words.
I write good.
I write professionally. People pay me money. Sorry. So I think like that I enjoyed. I'm trying to think, like, if there's anything else in particular. Oh, okay, and they're totally campy and really cheesy, and there are aspects of them that I do find problematic. But Fear Street, obviously, which is pretty recent. That's some good queer horror though, and they do it without, killing their gays. So.
No, that's fair. For me, the two of the big ones that came out from like the last few months of horror watching, from like our slasher spectacular until now, some of the ones that came to mind for me were Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
It's very, very gay coded.
Yeah.
And especially when you get into like the leather club scenes and some of that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, I think that one really sort of gets into it, and like the sort of like bondage death of the gym teacher.
Oh yeah, and like the showers, right?
Yeah.
Who's like the sort of pedophile,
Yeah.
figure. I think that that's all very, very much in that vein. And then another one that came to mind was Titan.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't seen that, which I need to.
It's so up your alley. You're gonna
I
love
know.
it. I really know that you are. Like, I really know you're gonna love it.
You're never gonna unsee it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you that.
It just drifts through my mind every once in a while. Not in any particular direction. Every once in a while, it's literally just like, and there's a little bit of Titan.
That's right.
Like, it just sort of,
Fair.
even if it's just a little sort of snippet of an actor's face in a particular shot, it just every once in a while just kind of
it's like an
drifts
earworm.
on through.
Remember that scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that one honestly almost kind of starts to touch on some of the similar themes of Freaky.
Yeah.
Which is this sort of bodily transition.
Yeah, and that's like a lot of what I made note of when I was going through and watching it was this sort of like idea of like transformation and specifically sort of like embodiment, and like what that means for each of those characters. Plus, like I think when you're looking to it, like obviously, so like the two main characters they swap, and I think unlike most other Freaky Fridays where it's like the mom and the daughter they switch,
It's a big switch.
Yeah.
I mean, one is like a teenage girl and one is like a middle-aged male serial killer. So very different people. But no, it's also, I think it's just like really interesting because you have these two very different people coming from two very different perspectives, physically having to embody one another and understand what that means. And then also like a lot of the other main characters too are sort of like, I mean, I guess you would say like minority characters. There's literally like, I think in the movie there's like a moment where they're running because they think that Vince Vaughn as Millie is trying to kill them. And
fantastic.
Yes, and the one kid, he's like, "You're black, I'm gay, we're gonna die." Like we're so dead. And which is, it's like such a trope. As subversive as horror can be, I think that there has been like a trope, especially in like mainstream horror, of again like killing your gays, of the like black character is gonna be like the first one who's gonna die, of things like that. So I did think that in a lot of ways this movie like really took a lot of those tropes and sort of turned them on their head, and even kind of took this idea of like the slasher movie, and it's this killer and he's going after this teenage girl, but they're swapped. So like it's interesting because there's always something I think so very like hypersexualized about the slasher, especially when it comes to its kind of like final girl teenage protagonists, and that's completely like turned on its head here because the killer is in the body of the teenage girl, and even like it's interesting too because I think even moments of like, so this guy, the butcher, Vince Vaughn's character, he's this sort of like intense predator killer, cold-blooded, brutal murderer, incredibly gory. This film, I really feel bad because I made Mom watch it and I forgot how gory it was, and she was very upset. We got to like that wine bottle scene in the opening, and she was like, "Why are you making me watch this movie?" And I was like, "It's still funny, I swear." Really
fantastic. Good. I didn't know this.
Yeah, she was so upset with me. I was like, "Just hang in there. I promise it's gory, but it's good."
Just hang in here. You'll be okay.
Hang in there. It'll be okay. But no, it's interesting because then like when the butcher that is in Millie's body, the people that the butcher is going after are all of the people who have preyed on Millie in some way. Because Millie is this hyper vulnerable kind of person. She's, you know, like, her family's kind of been immobilized by grief, things like that. But then on top of that, you know, she's like bullied at school and she doesn't fit in and she feels super awkward and people are super mean to her. And, you know, this character then in this teenage girl's body goes one by one to these people that prey on her and like brutally murders them, you know, up to and including, you know, she's well, Millie, Vince Vaughn as Millie, is like kind of shits on those like jock guys, because they keep flirting with her now that she's like hot Millie, which again also was hilarious to me because it felt like such a classic, like, She's All That, where they just, like, they change her hair slightly and take her glasses off or whatever, and like all of a sudden she's super hot.
Oh, Easy A, when she's like walking around in bustiers.
Yeah, so, like, even it's like even less. It's like they literally just like put her in a jean, like in a leather jacket and some lipstick.
And they were like, "Whoa!"
Everyone was like, "Holy shit!" It's the walk. Yeah, so like all of a sudden she's like garnering this male attention, and she like makes fun of them for it, and is like basically go fuck yourself. I think the actual quote was to the one boy, "Your touch makes this pussy drier than sandpaper," which is such an incredible thing to say to another human. And it made me, you know, he gets so mad that he decides he's going to like assault her. And it made me think of like the Margaret, I think it's Margaret Atwood quote, where it's like, men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them. And, you know, she makes this boy feel bad. And his reaction is to get a bunch of his friends, isolate this girl, and they're gonna sexually assault her. I mean, he's literally like, "There's 3 of us, and you got 3 holes," and like she turns it on and like murders all of them. So there is, I think, there's like a lot to unpack there. I'm like monologuing. I'm so sorry. There's a lot to unpack, I think, as far as just like vulnerable people, and then kind of flipping like that script of like who is vulnerable, and what that means, and like different people in different bodies and different sorts of mindsets around things, and just sort of like general power dynamics between people. I don't know, I think there's like a lot there, and I think it's like very interesting and intriguing, and I think the movie does such an interesting but like really fun, engaging job of kind of like exploring these things, but like again in a way that's like, it's fun.
No, for sure. Let's, I guess, sort of back things up just for a little bit of a second.
I ran through the whole plot of that film.
You're totally fine. So let's just sort of back things up for just a real quick second. So Freaky was released November 13th, 2020. It's an hour 42. It's rated R. It had a budget of $5 million. It grossed $15.9 million globally. Not bad for like a horror film released in the pandemic.
No, honestly.
It was written by Michael Kennedy and Christopher Landon, and it is directed by Christopher Landon, who also directed Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, the sequel. And the cast includes, as the leads, Vince Vaughn as the Butcher and Kathryn Newton as Millie. And the synopsis is, after swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, a young girl in high school discovers she has less than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. So obviously, Madelaine is familiar with the film and also enjoys it very much. So,
I can tell.
Dear, why don't you go ahead and talk with us a little bit, react to some of what Mad said. What did you think of the film? This was one that you and I had not seen, but I was interested in seeing.
Yes. So, funny story, actually. When, like, this movie was advertised, I was like, yeah. I wasn't that interested, you know. I was like, okay, whatever. It's like another one of this It's great. We're doing another body swap movie. Fantastic. This time it's with horror and it's got Vince Vaughn in it. I mean, okay. It's like, whatever. But I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Like it really went above my expectations. I mean, honestly, like when your expectations are like it's gonna be a mid movie, I was like pretty impressed, honestly. A lot of the horror I think is great in this. It's definitely got a lot of that good gore and that good like cringe feeling that a slasher movie is supposed to have. And I think that this movie is like it has a really good transition as well when they switch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that they honestly like I think the switch personalities versus the original ones. Like I think that Vince Vaughn is like the strongest part of this entire movie. I
I
think that he's
agree.
really selling, being Millie, being this teenage girl who has a crush on a boy, but is like now looks like this, and like it's just kind of like, what am I supposed to do with this? And like trying to convince her friends that like she is who she says she is, and all of this. And I think that, and I don't ever once get taken out of that and being like, oh yeah, but this is Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
I think that he's really just going phenomenal, and I think that the actor who plays Millie does a really great job. Is the butcher as well? I think that it's
Yeah.
probably her strongest of the two parts. Is getting to being this dominant force and being a
Yeah.
badass and getting to to murder and slash. Like I think that she's really selling that for me. But no, I thought that this movie was really interesting. I wasn't expecting when you brought it up for Pride, I was like, I don't I don't get it. You know? I don't understand. They're not singing about AIDS. I don't get it. um but it's a fascinating movie about about what it means. Your gender identity does not have to be your outward appearance, and I think that this movie is a great example of that
Yeah.
Well, and go ahead.
oh because neither of them aren't their authentic selves in either persona. I think that the whichever wherever they're supposed to be, wherever their I guess consciousness is in body form at that time, I think that the transitions are completely seamless, where I believe that the butcher is inside of Millie's body just as much as I believe
Hmm.
that Millie is inside of the butcher's body.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, and I think that there's a brief period of time where spoiler alert about the movie. Um, there's a brief period of time where like Millie is trying to get comfortable with the idea that she might just be stuck as this.
Hmm.
And I think that starts to get into this really interesting place of like becoming comfortable with this transition in identity.
Yeah.
And I think that it's also very interesting that the love interest character doesn't like get weirded
Yeah.
out by it, and it's not played for some sort of laugh in the sense
No.
of, oh, this is freakish,
It
in
was
the
very
outright
sincere.
sense.
I
It
thought
has a lot
No,
of
it's
tenderness.
yes, it's
Yeah.
very honest, and like he's totally like, yeah, that's
And it's
fine.
a little bit weird up front, yeah, but also like they're working through it. And it
yeah.
has that kind of energy to it, and it's very sweet and it's very sensitive. And I think
Well,
that
and I think it plays into this too, because like again, talking about pride and sort of like queer identity, like I think, again, you're right, like it's Millie in this new body, and like what does that mean? Then you have Booker, who's like her kind of love interest, and yeah, like he's not put off. It's almost kind of like um like maybe like a pansexual sort of like it doesn't. It's not about the body, it's about the person, and like the person
Mhm.
that he is interested in is Millie, and it doesn't matter what that package is.
mhm.
And so I think there's like a lot of really interesting things about like that as far as like gender and even sexuality are concerned. There's her friends, and he gets like lulled away by one of the jocks, and it's like a total moment of like this kid is like obviously super super closeted, because he like pulls Josh aside and is like, yeah, I think Millie's over here. And then like the second that he tries to kiss him and Josh is like not into it, he calls him like the F word. Like it's a full on like super unaware. And so it's like I think it is interesting because like they really go through, and again, it's like very subtly, like they don't do it in this way that's like we're talking about these issues. But I think that like all of these different people are in like a very authentic, sort of realistic, you know, maybe minus the like mystical body swapping way, engaging with like varying forms of like gender identity and varying forms of like sexuality and what that means and looks like for them in their daily lives.
No, absolutely. You know, it's kind of like how Texas Chainsaw, you know, hits on a lot of topical content ideas at the time surrounding, you know, some of inflation and some of the shift toward big ag and some of that sort of thing without really directly, you know, being about it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, in the same way that like District 9 is so heavily about apartheid. Not that like District
Yeah.
9 is a bad movie, but like it's really walloping you with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like this lives very organically,
Yeah.
you know, very naturally, while also still being very fun.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing about this movie that I think is also worth, you know, and you brought it up a little bit and you brought it up a little bit. It is a very fun movie. And
It
actually, this
is.
was another thing that I wanted to bring up. You know, you talked about Vince Vaughn being the linchpin and him, you know, doing better than Kathryn Newton did. I think that Vince Vaughn had a clearer idea of what Millie in this uncomfortable body was
Mm-hmm.
than what Kathryn Newton had as an idea for Millie being uncomfortable in her own
I
body.
agree.
And I think that that's why she also sung with the butcher, was because it was such a moment for her to sing, just like Vince Vaughn didn't really sing as the butcher, he
No.
sung as Millie.
I
No,
agree.
And
honestly, it was him being like the straight of like any relationship is a hard one for Vince because he's has such a depth of comic, you know, timing, and like he's
mhm.
been in so many comedies, and that trying to see him in like a dramatic, serious, like this person's gonna murder me kind of role is not correct.
Yeah. But like also too, the thing that I really was impressed about with his performance was I think it also would have been so funny to almost be like camp. I'm a teenage girl, but it like did not feel like that at all. Like it felt very off,
No.
like very sincere, like a sincere portrayal of this like girl who's dealing with like grief over the loss of her father, and her family's in like this kind of like, you know, tragic place. She's having like struggles with her mom and things like that. And just like also just everyday vulnerable stuff in high school, liking a boy and worrying whether or not he's gonna like you back and not doing well in class. And he handled all of it like so sincerely.
So I think that I gave it a little bit of thought, and I was thinking about body swap performances, um, and out of body performances, and so I was thinking about like in the recent Jumanji movies,
Mm-hmm.
which play so heavily into that trope,
Yes.
with Jack Black and with Aquafina, and I was thinking about even like Jamie Lee Curtis, who I think has great comedic chops as an actor, and I was really thinking about some of the body swap performances that are standouts, even like briefly in the Scooby Doo movie. And
Yeah.
I think the
Fantastic.
reason that I was like, who are my standouts whenever I think of this kind of thing? Who are my standouts as performers? And it's comedians. And I think it's because
Yeah.
so much of comedy is based in a sort of universal subtext of pain,
Yeah.
but also in character work. And I
Yeah.
think that when you look at a body swap performance, you're ultimately trying to look through anything about the physical to what's the universal experience of feeling out of place. And I think that that's something that comedians are so able to tap into, and then it's build the character off of that. And I think
agree.
that that's why they're always so great at tapping into character work, good character work, and building great body swap performances. Because
Yeah.
the best body swap performances are honestly from comedians.
No, I think that that's completely fair.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I think that that's completely fair. Because honestly, like also, you know, in comparing a lot of these body swap things, it's usually like an older actor and a younger actor, and most times out of those times, you know, it's the more seasoned actor who is able to dig down to those depths and figure out this character, you know, in a true way as a professional, instead of it just being like you know, I've been in a few things, you know, like even
I know what teenagers do.
yeah, exactly, you know, oh, I just have to play awkward, you know. But and I think that that's also where, to your point with the fact that like he is a comedian, and comedians in general, is the fact that they also have to they have to push themselves so much further than everyone else does, because they have to stretch to do pretty much any character that's given to them and find a way to make that character funny, or to build their own characters and to make those characters honest and true, but still
funny.
but still funny. And you know, the problem with drama is you usually get put into the same positions all of the time, where you don't get to stretch those opportunities, because nobody sees you as a flexible, you know, entity.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think comedy is much harder than drama, personally.
oh, always, always. It is way harder to genuinely make people laugh than it is to make people cry.
Yeah.
Sorrow is the easiest emotion to pull from, because
It's so
the
universal.
yeah, and it's something that is the easiest emotion to pull from within. You know, you can think about something that makes you sad, and like the more you think about it, the sadder you'll get. But happiness, like, or being truly like funny and open to doing
And
whatever it
finding
takes.
something that is funny not just to you, but to the crowd.
Exactly. No, and again, you know, you're not ever going to be funny to everyone. You know, not everyone's style of comedy is funny to everyone, but it's like a muscle that you have to figure out.
So another thing that I wanted to bring up was, you know, I mentioned that Landon had done Happy Death Day, which is like Groundhog's Day meets a slasher.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, you know, well, not kind of.
It
it's
is
Freaky
literally
Friday
Freaky Friday meets a slasher. Yeah.
Is there any other kind of trope, before we kind of, you know, buckle off, I guess, too much of the serious conversation? Is there any kind of other trope that comes to mind that you think would work really well for some sort of horror slasher thing?
That like hasn't been done already?
That could be a good comedy horror slasher hybrid. Yeah.
Well, that's really difficult.
That fits into that sort of 80s vein, I guess, of
like a rom-com. I want like a really solid rom-com slasher. Is that a thing? Has anyone done that?
You know, I don't know, but I like it, like a final girl and boy. Or like a final couple in general.
Yeah,
you know, maybe. It's like a meet cute over a murder.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're both the murderers.
Oh, that's an interesting spin. See, I was thinking War Games meets Terminator.
Okay.
As like a teen slasher kind of thing.
See, my brain really latched onto the 80s, and you were like, comedy, 80s, but a slasher, and I was like, The Goonies?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
The Goonies
Treasure hunt slasher, interesting.
Oh yeah,
no. Slasher.
He just in the parade scene where he's like dancing.
It's
in the
street. Principal. He's finally had enough.
I mean, to be honest, there were moments in that film where
I would understand if he became homicidal.
Yeah.
The principal?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's fair, and he's constantly trying to get Ferris, but
Yeah.
he keeps, like, running off and doing other things.
It's a little bit of, like, a pathological obsession there, maybe, you know? Like, it's
Yeah. Well, and honestly, if we went with like the War Games Terminator slasher kind of thing, we could even kind of also tap into like a weird science thing where we send, like a hyper sexy robot that also kills as like a part of this sort of slasher thing.
like an Austin Powers robot.
Yeah, like a fembot kind of thing. Yeah.
That's right. Well, that's how she
Very
lures
weird
them in.
science where she comes out, in the crop top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fog.
Yeah.
Bring out the smoke machine, guys.
Yeah.
And I guess out of another last question that I did want to ask real quickly, out of all of the Freaky Friday stories, how does this Freaky Friday story rank for y'all?
Like out of all the movies and stuff?
Yeah, out of all the body swap freaky, actually, let's keep it specific. Out of all the Freaky Friday movies, yeah, the original, the Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Freaky. How would you rank those three?
I think Freaky might honestly be my favorite, although I think second favorite would be the Lindsay Lohan one.
And the original coming in hard last.
The original's good, but there's something super corny about the Lindsay Lohan one that I enjoy.
I think for me, I don't disagree with your ranking. I think for me, it's maybe close to a tie on Freaky and the Lindsay Lohan Freaky Friday, if only just because, for me, I think Jamie Lee Curtis
She's fucking selling it!
Just so good. Like, Lindsay Lohan is doing fine.
She's doing mom
Jamie
fine.
Lee Curtis is doing it, man.
Well, that's how I feel about It's
fun. And so I think that's, but I don't disagree with your ranking.
Well, I think that my ranking doesn't necessarily equal my star score for them.
That's fair.
But like, I love the Jamie Lee Curtis one.
It's good. It's so good.
So much. Like,
it's what you grew up on.
Oh yeah, it has a soft spot. Lindsay Lohan's harsh highlights. It's a good time. She's in a band. It's fantastic. It's
I was gonna say, this is also
the early 2000s.
Prime Lohan years for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's one of her best roles. Honestly, like she's of all other than like Mean Girls. That's Lindsay, right? Oh my God, yes it is.
And Parent Trap. You gotta love Parent Trap.
Yes,
Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
I think that's like the lowest, the lower.
Herbie Fully Loaded.
Oh no, that's on the bottom.
Oh wow.
Oh gosh, that puppet of a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic.
Justin Long is in that movie.
Oh
my
no,
God,
he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Rough.
But like, I do still like really enjoy this movie as well. But like, nostalgia came in hard and was
that's
like.
fair. That's fair. That's very fair.
So I guess if you had to rank, or if you had to give not rank, but if you had to give Freaky a score out of 5, what would you give it, Mad?
I mean, I'm not gonna say that I think it's like the best movie ever made, but I honestly like, I give it a solid like 4.5 out of 5. I think I would say arguably it's like close to like a perfect film. I mean, I don't know. I know that seems like really intense, but like, I think it's really good. I think it's funny. I think it's fun. I think it's I love I think it does such a good job of straddling multiple genres in a way though that doesn't make it ever feel weird. I don't know. I really like it. I know I'm always like, I liked that movie, but I fucking liked it. So there you go.
Wonderful.
Dear.
I think I'm gonna do the same. I think I'm gonna do a 4.5. I agree. I think that this movie isn't perfect, but I think that it's having a lot of fun, and it's exactly like what I needed from this movie. Because it could have gone so much further and been a bigger thing, but I think that it would have lost a lot of its heart.
I agree.
At that point.
Yeah.
And it's a fun blast. Like it's a Vince Vaughn role. I haven't seen Vince Vaughn in anything really in a while, and it was refreshing and nice to see him again.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, good, you still doing it? Thank goodness. I thought he like retired for a second there. He was just like hanging out and being rich.
I'll go for a 4.5 out of 5. The last thing that I saw Vince Vaughn in was True Detective Season 2, and I really liked him in that. I always think about him wrenching off that guy's grill with a set of pliers.
Oof.
And that's a scene from Season 2 that's really seared into my brain. And Vince Vaughn doesn't stand out as like a sore thumb in that scene. You know?
That's good.
And as far also as the movie overall, you know, I think that it's super fun. I think that it's super engaging. I think that it's very interesting. I think that it finds an interesting place to go with the slasher. You know, it finds another one of those weird little pocket areas, kind of like April Fool's Day or something
fair.
like that, where it's a slasher, but it still does something interesting with it.
Yeah.
It's doing all of the tropes, but also doing them with a twist that is unexpected and honestly, you know, at this point, kind of refreshing.
Yeah. And I think that it also, it kind of, for me, hit a little bit of the same sweet spot as, like, Mirror, Mirror.
I was thinking about that movie when you talked about... Which is
another almost kind of, I think, queer-coded horror film as well.
I was going to bring that one up, and then I completely forgot about it, because I was excited that you had also said to Taint. We'd been just... All right, you know, get out of my mind.
And so I think that it also hit that same sort of sweet spot of really interesting, you know, queer-coded horror teen slasher things. I think that it was really interesting, and I had a good time with it.
Yeah, honestly.
And it's gnarly. The kills are so good.
It's so gory. It's so gross.
Yeah, like,
it's fantastic.
It's really good. It's really good stuff. It's really good makeup work. Big fan.
I honestly thought that this movie was going to go, like, more into, like, the comedy side of this, and it was going to be, like, hokey when it came to the gore.
They go hard.
I was genuinely shocked when the first person died. I was like, we're
that
serious.
Opening series of deaths is
oh my god,
horrific.
It almost feels like they're trying to make you laugh in discomfort.
I know.
Like, it really almost feels like they're trying to get you to...
Well, and I also wonder, too, if there were, like, people going to be coming into this thinking it's a Vince Vaughn movie and, like, really rock their shit.
Watch a murder.
Yeah. Brutal murder.
Well, I guess with all that out of the way, we should move into the end of the show. So, first off, I guess what we're watching, I'll go ahead and start. I last night went and saw with friend of the show Nick Delgadillo Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Aww. Sorry.
And so I got to go to a really kick-ass theater called the Independent Picture House here in Charlotte. It is a non-profit movie theater that does independent and art house and international cinema. And they opened up this week, and I got to go and see Marcel the Shell there. It was a great time. I will write up my full review, which will be available the week that the movie comes out. I haven't figured out the specific release date yet. I'm still writing my review. But that's the week of July 15th. So be on the lookout for my review of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Okay.
Really...
I want to know real quick, though, like, they can't see it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. How we feeling about it? Okay, good. All right, cool. I wanted to know.
Excellent.
Plot twist. They were thumbs down.
That's
and
right.
that was the reaction. Excellent. Good. Yes.
Let it burn.
That's what I wanted.
It's terrible. Yes. But Matt, what have you been watching lately?
Okay, so actually recently I watched I don't know if you've seen Vampire from 1932.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I guess kind of speaking about queer horror. But that's like loosely based off of Camilla, which I don't know if you've ever read that. It predates, which is again, I read that recently. It predates Dracula by like quite a bit.
Yes. I do remember you talking about this.
Yeah, and so and it's definitely very like queer horror, both like the novel and then obviously like the movie itself. And so I watched that recently, like which I loved it. Fantastic film. Vampyr. Definitely recommend giving that a go. It was really, really good. So I watched that recently and really enjoyed it. Other things I guess I've been watching recently. Miss Marvel, which I think is fucking adorable. I think it's really cute. I think it's precious. I think she's adorable. So I watched that and enjoyed it. And then what's another thing that I guess I watched recently? No. Oh, I saw the new Jurassic World movie. This is my rating for
Oh.
that.
I mean, I'm not shocked.
Guys, it was the opposite in Marcel the Shell.
Yeah, it was thumbs
the thumbs
up.
up.
Yeah, that's right. Disgusting.
Yeah, not even Jeff Goldblum can save that for me. It was,
Oof.
but we were like tooling around outside and we were all really hot, so we were like, let's go watch a movie. And then like next one that was available was that, and we were like, well, I guess
Here
we're gonna
we
watch
go.
this.
We live in Texas, so here we
I guess
go.
this is it. So yes, I did see that. I'm partially ashamed to share this information, but I did see that movie.
Fantastic.
Dear, what have you seen lately?
Well, we finished up the first part of Stranger
Things 4, yeah.
Oh yeah, also that I saw that. What do
Yeah.
you
Oh
think?
yeah. Oh yeah.
I've
we've
really
been
liked
enjoying
season
it,
4 a
honestly.
lot, yeah. I've got a lot of theories. I'll be curious to see what happens with the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, I honestly think that season 4 for me is the strongest since season 1.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I thought
I'm
that
in the same place.
I thought that season 3 was as much as I loved the new characters that we got, I thought that the storyline itself didn't hit as hard as this one has.
Ruined Hopper.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Waste of a character.
And I think that they've really found some interesting things to do, and I also like the fact that they've started like tying things back to the original storyline, which is like who is 11 and like how did this all start, basically.
Yeah.
Really answering, I guess, the questions, and I'm sure that you could ask the question, they have to spin their wheels, and I guess you could honestly come back and say, did they know that this was where they wanted to go initially? And I think that maybe not.
I don't think so, but I think that they figured. I think that they got a strong like head of steam with this season.
Yeah.
I think that season 3 was like a meandering mind season, and then they were like, "Oh, this is where we're gonna go."
2 and 3 both had a lot of like meanders. Some worked, some didn't, and it feels like now by season 4 we've kind of honed in on something more specific.
I agree.
Yeah, we've gotten our chess pieces where we want them
and
to
also
be.
I think that they've gone and tapped back into King a little bit more strongly again.
I agree.
Whereas with 2 and 3 they wandered into some of their other influences, and I don't know that they hit those influences as hardly, whereas in season 1 and in season 4 I think that both of them to me feel much heavier King and 80s horror.
I agree.
Whereas like some of 4 and some of 3 and some of 2 feel like Cameron and Spielberg and a little bit more blockbustery, which is fine. But I think that it doesn't hit as hard as that King season, which is season 1, and I think a little bit more of this new season 4.
I agree.
Well, I think that King is just like a very, he's very good at writing like intimate stories about, humans, like real people who are having like tough experiences, and like the world also is having like, chaos thrown at them in every way, shape, and form, and like, dramatic and out of this world effects are happening, but like I think that it's still very grounded and honest, whereas I think that, you know, when you go into the big blockbuster things, now you have to make it, you know, you have to tone all of that stuff kind of down to leave room for the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Also, this season popularized Kate Bush's which like Hounds of Love is like one of my favorite albums ever. So when I found out that like everyone was popping off with that song, I was like, fuck yes.
Kate Bush, it's a jam.
Love Kate Bush. Very exciting.
Well, she gets those royalties, man. Like, do it.
I mean,
no, yeah, like I saw, you know, there are all sorts of, you know, varying estimates that you see all sorts of places over the internet, but I mean, without a doubt, she's definitely seeing fatter checks. Whatever the agreement is, she's definitely seeing fatter checks.
This is how I want my singing career to go. I just want to make one banging song and then have some show like Stranger Things just like light that thing on fire and just like watch it fly.
Mm-hmm. But I guess
goals, man.
There was one last thing that I wanted to do in today's show, which was, since we have a friend of the show on, since we created the friend of the show questionnaire, we had to crack it out. So even though you've been on before, you haven't been on since the questionnaire came on, and so essentially it's very simple. There are currently only 10 questions on the questionnaire.
Okay.
I pick 5 at random in any order. And then I ask them and you answer them. I'm going to eventually add on more questions, but currently there are just 10.
If I don't answer correctly, do I get like an electric shock or something? Like what?
The bridge
here?
Drops out, you know, Monty Python style. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool.
So just like spread your legs real good. Okay?
Yeah. All right, cool.
So,
I got them.
Here are your questions from the official Film Buds friend of the show questionnaire.
Woo!
So, what's the first movie you remember crying in?
Oh, fuck. Land Before Time.
Oh, okay. Nice. You had that one ready. Wow, in the chamber. That
Boom.
One was
easy.
Nice.
That movie ruined my life. It's easy. Easy.
No, that was a good answer. Thank
you. Wasn't prepared.
What's your favorite scene in a movie?
Oh, fuck, that's really hard. Shit. I don't know. There are so many really good ones.
Was
so
my
hard
sarcastic answer last time the Shrek taking a bath scene?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So he jokingly, like, I had to take the questionnaire, and every answer he gave when he was, like, answering the questions was related to the Shrek movie.
Okay, I like that. Any scene from the movie Minions. Just kidding.
It's the eyes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, okay, I don't know if it's, like, one of my, I don't think I can actually pick, like, a favorite scene, but, I think probably one of my favorite scenes is in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Towards the end when she's talking to her daughter in the parking lot, you know, when her daughter like wants to, I don't know, I guess spoiler alert if you have not seen the movie, but her daughter basically becomes like this infinite being and she's just like tired of existing and she just wants her mom to like let go so she can stop existing. And like that scene between the two of them where it's just like total acceptance and like, yes, life is hard, but you know, like you find the people that matter to you and that you care about and you push forward, and wanting to have her daughter there with her, and like, I don't know, them flashing through like all of the different iterations of themselves and past and present and future, like all of it. And I don't know, it's just like that, although frankly like that whole fucking movie could be like my favorite scene. Like it's so fucking good. Also a film that I cried in.
There you go. Taking all of the check
ties into the first question. That movie made me bawl my eyes out. and also laugh so hard because it's like such a film of like deep sorrow and intense joy, which is like life. So there you go.
No, honestly,
Yeah.
I was gonna totally ruin that by being like, your favorite scene is that when they're just rocks, right?
I mean, yes, I did really like I loved the rock scene, and also I really liked the world where you had like a hot dog fingers, and then there was like actual ketchup and mustard happening. Absolutely incredible. Fucking loved it.
I loved that they would like pick things up with their feet.
Yeah, I mean, you would. It was great.
I mean,
I loved
yeah.
it.
Next, if you could have any job in film, television, or streaming production, what job would you want?
If I could have any job, I mean, I think of myself as like a writer, and I think I would like to do like script writing, like film writing, that kind of thing. Is something I've always been interested in that I think I would enjoy doing. If not, I think if there was like something else that was like not writing related, because maybe that's a little bit of like a gimme since I write. I don't know. I think directing film would be like really cool. I mean, I'm sure everyone's like, I want to direct a movie. I can do that. But I really do think it'd be fun to like, I don't know, kind of be the person who like, or really gets to like take all these sort of disparate pieces and mold them together into something that's like a cohesive vision. I think that would be hard, but I think I'd enjoy the challenge.
What job wouldn't you want?
Like a grip.
Or like a boom operator?
Or
Oh,
like
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Something that involves the like upper body strength would be.
Well, honestly, they're just holding it there.
Yeah, like anything that involves holding things like that, I would probably really hate. I don't know, maybe craft services only because I've worked like doing
Catering and that sort of
yeah,
thing?
and so I don't know if I want to do that again.
That's fair.
Last question. If you were hosting this show for one episode, what movie or movies would you talk about?
Shit, that you guys haven't talked about?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
So many. Okay. Let me think. What's something that you guys haven't talked about? Quick, read off a list of every film you've ever discussed or mentioned on this show.
We'd be here for like another 2 hours.
Oh fuck, have you guys ever talked about Hocus Pocus?
Not a clue.
Honestly, I don't think so.
I would talk about that corny shit. It was a seminal childhood experience for me. And
Heck yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
I would talk about Hocus Pocus.
Okay. No, that's a good call. I guess honestly that was pretty much all that I had in plan for the show. So I guess honestly, without much further ado, Mad, I'll give you a little platform. Promote yourself. Tell the people where they should go, find you, read your work, etc.
I mean, yeah. So again, Screen Rant, you can find me on there. I occasionally pen some stuff for them. I have like you can go to MadelaineDavis.com and you can read some of my incredible business writing, but also again, you can like catch all my podcast appearances, I guess, on here. All my podcast appearances on this one show.
We're the only show that matters.
That's right.
So you can, see all that and some like other stuff. Some of my like creative writing and stuff is all linked on through there. So yeah, I don't know. That those places and in person, but maybe actually, unless I know you, don't come find me. That would be, I'm not into that. So thank you.
Perfect.
Noted.
No editing involved at all. We're good here.
Um,
Don't stalk Madelaine.
Cool.
You do
Please.
We have it on record that she officially said,
Not into it.
don't.
So if you wouldn't mind, maybe not.
Please and thank you.
Dear, do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
No, I guess this is our last day of Pride. So this has been a fun month, getting to get a watch a as usual. You always do such a good job of finding movies that are, really encompassing of a theme, and I think that we really did that with this month as well. Um even finding, this fun little pocket genre movie with Freaky. I think that, everything is so interconnected, and all of our stories are, they touch everybody's. So this movie had so many layers, just like so many of the other movies that we watch. They're not just about their queer identities, they're also, about love and family and friendship and, discovery. And it's so wonderful to get to go into a world that we don't get to visit that often in this medium, and really focus on it and really let it shine. And I'm excited about next month as well. Always excited for our fancy themes.
Yeah. Um, no, very well said. Pride Month was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. You know, we I grew up vaguely knowing, a few different people, who at like the time that I met them, no one out and out said that like they were on the queer spectrum in some capacity. Um, but like we also got to go to like a very special school. We went to a high school,
Of
an
the
arts
performing
magnet
arts.
school. Um, that was a very lovely, very eye-opening, sort of one-of-a-kind experience, that was very grounded in a lot of sensitivity and awareness of other people, and was also very expressive and very openly expressive of every identity that you wanted to put out there.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very exciting, um, and safe place. And I think that really highlights for me the value of creating safe spaces in education for children to be children and figure out who they are as autonomous beings. And Pride is all about figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And being proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Oh, also, just to like tag on to, uh, I just kind of like guest discussion of like that, but also an incredible, incredible show that I highly recommend, that definitely kind of like, I think perfectly ties into this idea of like queer identity, whatever that kind of queer identity is, and like being able to grow into yourself and learn to express that, child or otherwise. Our Flag Means Death. I'm
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fucking obsessed with that show. I've like rewatched it like 2 or 3 times now. Um, it's incredible. It's such like a lovely, what I didn't really know a lot about it going into it. And I kept thinking like, oh, this is just gonna be like some queer baiting. And it is not. And it's just such a beautiful, lovely romance, and like exploration of gender, and just, and also it's funny as fuck. Taika Waititi, man, good shit. So yes, I'm also, I guess, plugging that show.
Well, hell
um,
yeah.
but watch it. Everybody should watch it. Literally everyone.
Do it.
Yeah. But that's all that I have for y'all. Thank you again for complimenting the lineup of Pride Month. If you didn't know already, if this is your first episode of our Pride Month, we did all the way back to 1919 up until now. It was all pretty much in chronology, all kind of across the board in what was presented. The first two are a little bit out, but for the most part, it is. Um, but it was a lot of different content. It was a good month. Next month is going to be our summer themed month. If you're a part of our newsletter, you know what's coming next month. For those who don't know, I will say that next week we're doing our 4th of July episode, and we decided to go in a little bit of a different direction on 4th of July this year. And there's no pomp, there's no circumstance, there is no fireworks. I decided that it was time to talk about America and what it is to be a responsible, engaged civic citizen. And so on my 4th of July episode next week, I'm really selling this.
You are.
We're going to be doing All the President's Men and Do
Oh,
the
shit.
Right Thing.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So buckle up for next week, everyone.
I mean, you're still selling it.
I dig it.
You're welcome.
Wow.
But definitely tune in for it. It's going to be fun all the same. I mean, we're going to talk about how weird young Dustin Hoffman is.
It's the hair.
It's really weird to see him. I think it's because I just saw too much old Dustin Hoffman growing up, but we'll get into that next week.
That's fair.
In the meantime, check out all of our previous Pride Month episodes. Check out Madelaine on Screen Rant, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.